All right, guys. So, in further getting the Audi ready to get on the road, I took it out and drove it on the street that I live off of because it's kind of a secluded street, and got it up to speed and everything. And I brought it back home and ran codes, and I'm getting an EGT alarm. So what I did was I took the EGT sensors out, and I'm going to show you what I did to repair the problem. So typically what happened, I took both sensors out. I took the passenger side sensor out and the driver's side sensor out. But typically what happens is the wires right here lose contact with these pins. Sometimes you'll have the board go bad, but most of the time it's these wires are not making contact with the pins anymore. So what I did is I stripped all the little glue stuff out of here. So there's like, I'm hoping that this will show up in the video, but there's glue in there. You can see where I cut some of it out back here where these pins are. So I removed all that. It's dielectric stuff so that nothing makes contact with anything, but you got to cut all that crap out of there, and it's anti-vibration shit. But you take all that stuff out of there, and then make sure you get a good hot soldering iron in there, and you'll have to burn some of that shit out of your way because I couldn't get 100% of it out of there. But you burn most of it off, and then solder that joint, and then measure your resistance on here, and you should have resistance reading, and then add heat to the sensor, and the resistance should increase. So I tested both sensors. This was the only one that had a miscommunication between the pins and the sensor. So I did not cut the material out of the black one. I only did it to the brown one. So we'll see if that fixes the issue though. All right, guys. So as you can see, I had to pull the Y pipe off in order to replace, or to get to the two sensors. And now I don't know why people say that getting the driver's side one off is so hard. It's freaking right there. It's super easy to get to. You pull the water tank out of the dang way, and you got a straight shot at it. I don't know why people keep stressing about how hard it is. It's just as easy to get out as the driver's or as the passenger side one. So whatever. I just wanted to make that point. It's if you move the coolant tank out of the way, you got a straight shot right at it. All right, guys. So I was finally able to fix the exhaust gas temp sensors. Before, when I was reading this one was reading at 940 degrees, and this one was reading 945. They're supposed to read 945 whenever they're not active, and they only read between 945 and like 1120 or somewhere around there. I'm not even 100% certain what the reading is, what the max reading is, but they're only a small window where they work. So I resoldered both of the probes going into the circuit boards, and that seems to have fixed both of them. All right, guys. Well, I got the EGT problem fixed on the car. I was going to go try and drive it up on the street and have my buddy film it, but it's raining again, so I just can't catch a freaking break. Maybe we'll still be able to do this later. All right, guys, so I have a problem that I've never had occur on one of these builds that I've done. It's something new that I'm experiencing with this build, and I am shredding belts. And I know why I'm shredding belts, and that's why I'm doing this update to the video, because this is something that, like I say, I've never run into this before doing any of these builds in my previous builds. So this is a new issue that I'm discovering, but, and I apologize for the shitty camera work, but if you can, let me see if I can get it to show. It's probably not, you're probably not gonna be able to see it, but the AC belt, or the AC pulley, doesn't line up with the rest of the pulleys. It's sitting back that way towards the engine, about 1.5 teeth for the ribs on the belt. So what I'm getting ready to do is I've removed the bracket off of the 3.0 liter, and I'm going to pull the bracket off of the 2.7. I'm going to compare the two brackets, and if the brackets are different, then I'm going to swap the brackets. If the brackets are not different and they're the same, that means regardless of what bracket's in there, the AC compressor is not going to mount in the right spot. So what I'll wind up having to do is I will have to either modify the bracket, or I will have to break the AC system open and switch to the A6 compressor, which I'm not really freaking happy about because I've already tested the AC and it was working. I don't know that it was working correctly, but it was at least blowing out cold air. And that's regardless of whether the belt was on there in the right spot or not. But I have to get that fixed because I did 2 or 3 pulls with the car up on the street. And I hope you enjoyed that little video that I just showed. Had my tenant trying to record for me, and yeah, hard to find good help these days, but it was an honest mistake. I'll get another rip in after I get this belt fixed, and we'll take it. And I think I'm going to change the rear section of the exhaust out, because the exhaust that was originally on this car is slam full of oil from the 3.0 either having bad rings or bad head gasket or whatever. But if you remember in my previous videos, I showed all the oil that was caked inside of the exhaust manifolds on the 3.0 and inside the catalytic converters and everything. The whole freaking exhaust that was original to the 3.0 is soaked in oil. And I'm sure you saw in that little clip that I was just referencing that there's a shit ton of smoke being blown out of the back of this car. And it's burning all that oil out of the exhaust, but that exhaust is heavy as hell now because of all the oil that's in it. And I don't want it, it's never going to burn all that crap out of there. I thought that a majority of it was in the front of the exhaust, but upon further inspection, it's all the way through that entire exhaust. So I may wind up actually straight piping it, except for the cats. I'll still leave the catalytic converters on there, but what I'll do is I'll hack up the A6 pipes and the A4 pipes, and I'll pressure wash the shit out of the A4 pipes, try and get as much of that oil out of the pipes as possible. And I just won't run any resonator or mufflers. It'll just be straight pipe from the cat's back. It's what I plan on doing anyway. I may wind up putting a muffler on it. It depends on how loud it is. If it's not really loud or obnoxiously loud, I might leave it. But I was really going for a sleeper style on this car in the beginning. I don't mind having a little rumble to the exhaust, but I don't want it obnoxiously loud. So we'll just have to see how it sounds with the exhaust modification from here, because like I say, I don't want all that smoke blowing out of the back of this thing. It's not good for the environment. It's not good for anybody to breathe that crap in. So I'm gonna do something to remedy that before I put it on the road. All right, guys, so I was trying to get the AC compressor bracket out without putting the freaking front end in service mode for like the umpteenth time, but now I have to put it back into service mode because I can't get the AC to fit past the freaking oil cooler and all that without sliding it forward. So I have to move the core support into the service position, and that's the only way I'm going to be able to get the bracket out. I got 2 of the bolts out. I cannot get the last one out without moving the AC compressor completely out of the way. So the only way to move it completely out of the way is to put it back in the freaking service mode. So once I get the bracket out, I'll show you the comparison. All right, guys, even though the differences look very, very minor, there is a slight difference in the length of them. So I am going to have to use I'm going to fit the one off of the 3.0 onto the 2.7 and then put the AC compressor on there and see if it lines up. And if not, then I'll have to put the 2.7 bracket on there, put the 2.7 compressor on there, and break the system open. As much as I don't want to, I may not have a choice. So I'll figure it out here in a little bit. Okay guys, so it looks like that's gonna fix my alignment issue. I just put the belt that had cut 2 ribs off of it on here just to see if it was straight. But it looks like it's lining up a lot better. I checked it with a straight edge and it looks like it's sitting a whole lot straighter with all the pulleys. So I'm gonna go buy a new belt and put the rest of this back together and then see where we go from there. All right, what's up guys? So I got the AC mounted in the right spot now. It looks like everything's working the way that it should. So I'm gonna go see if I can get my son to try and take a little bit better video of me doing a rip in this car. See if he can do a better job than my tenant. Hopefully we won't have a finger in front of the freaking car while I'm zooming past the camera. But we'll see how it does this time. I still haven't done anything with the exhaust, so it's probably still gonna smoke because of all the oil in the exhaust. But I wanna do one more rip and just see if the belt's gonna hold up. So we'll see. All right guys, so I recruited my daughter Leslie to do the videotape since apparently my tenant's not here and my son doesn't want anything to do with what I'm doing for YouTube. So we'll cut back to it after she's videotaping me doing a rip in this thing. All right guys, so just got back from doing that last pull and everything felt way better on that pull. Everything feels like it's dialed in. Now the only thing that I have to do is I'm gonna go through setting all the readiness on the car, and I'll go through I'll show you how to do it in the Rostec procedures. And that way everything will be ready. I know I won't have any check engine lights and I can go get it registered. So I'll show that in the next little bit of this video. And then now I'm not going to do anything to the exhaust until after I get it registered, because it's not blowing a ton of smoke out of the back anymore. I think some of that smoke may have been the belt cooking previously, because like I say, it was 1.5 ribs off. So the car pulled way better, and now that is a stock tune. There's no modifications to the car at all. Everything on the car is like it would have been if you would have drove it straight off the showroom floor, as far as performance and power and torque and all that kind of stuff. So once I start modding it, it's going to get much faster relatively quick. But I wanted to show how to do the complete base build to where it's bone stock. And as long as your state doesn't have very strict emissions or inspections or anything like that, as long as you build it like this, you should be able to pass any kind of minimum state inspection. I won't say that you'll pass any kind of rigorous emissions testing or anything like that, but a minimum state test you should pass, because it's basically all stock components. But like I say, I'll show you how to do all the readiness on this car. All right guys, so now I'm gonna do my readiness on the engine. So I'm gonna select the module and I'm gonna select the engine. Let it come up and read and everything. Check fault codes. Okay, no fault codes found. So that's a good sign. So now we're gonna do readiness. You can see EGR is passed, secondary air is passed, oxygen sensor heating is failed or not complete. So I got to get these 4 to read complete. so that I can pass inspection. So I'm going to do set readiness. So first thing you do, parking brake engaged. All electronic consumables are off. Yep. I'll even get in and shut the door so that the door is turned off, or so that the interior lights are off. Battery voltage at 11.5 it is. Coolant temp must be more than 80 degrees Celsius. Check and measuring block 4. You can see it ran it and it says 80 POK. So I can skip that test. Okay, engine must be running. Allow engine to idle and stabilize. Alright, there we go. Idling and stabilized. Alright, so now we can hit next on there. Evap tested okay. Alright, so we got a resistance reading in the first one. Now I got to get a resistance reading in the third one. Alright, they're all passed and ready to go. So now I should be able to pass emissions and get this thing registered. Hot damn. That'll be the end of this video once the readiness is done, and then next video will either be doing the exhaust on the Audi. The next video in this series will be doing the exhaust on the Audi and possibly doing some other mods to it. The next video, I don't know if it will be for the Audi or if it will be for the repairs that I'm doing to the gas system on the BMW. So that's still kind of up in the air. The car's been here for a while. I need to get it done. Now that my car is to the point where I should be able to register it, I'm going to put it on the back burner at least for a week until I can get, because I won't be able to do this BMW until next weekend. So I'll spend next weekend doing the BMW. If I have time during the week after work, I'll work on the Audi or I'll work on the BMW, one or the other. But it'll be one of the two, and we'll just go from there. But hope y'all enjoy what's in this video. If you do, please like, comment, share, subscribe, and thanks for watching.